Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome. Today's video I'll be showing you guys on how I made this beautiful luxury bubu. It is a shoulder pleated bubu with lapel. I used brocade fabric to make the style. I bought 5 yards of brocade. The reason why I bought 5 yards is because I used part of it to make turban cap. So if this is what you would love to learn how to make, please sit back, relax and enjoy the tutorial. And if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, click the red button down below to subscribe and also click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified. So without further ado, let's move right to the tutorial. From the 5 yards of brocade, before folding it into 4 on the table, I cut out 6 inches for the lapel. It is a very long strip. I cut out 6 inches for the lapel. Unfold is 3 inches. I also cut out 26 inches width and the length 60 inches for the turban cap. I have already made a detailed tutorial for the turban cap. If you have not seen it before, check my previous post. So this is the lapel that I already cut out. The wideness is 6 inches, unfold is 3 inches, and I've already ironed a stay to the wrong side of the fabric. This is how long it is. So I'm going to put it aside. Then we'll move over to drafting on our fabric. So the fabric that I have left on the table, the total length on fold is 25 inches. I'm going to use the whole fabric, that is the whole length. So I measured neck width 3 inches, neck depth for the back 1 inch, neck depth for the front 8.5 inches. Then I connect only the back neckline. From the center back to where the sleeve will stop, I use the total length of the fabric, which is 25 inches. Then for the sleeve opening, I measured 13 inches. I measured shoulder to my hip line, shoulder to the hem of the dress, which is 65 inches, including hemming allowance. At the hem of the dress, I impute my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 3 inches. The total wideness at the hem is 16 inches. Then I move over to my sleeve opening. I marked 20 inches for the wideness of the upper part. Then I connect from that 20 inches to the edge of the fabric for the sleeve. Then from the 20 inches, I slant it to meet the measurement at the lower part, like so. You can also impute the 20 inches on the hip line, and from the hip line, you will slant it to the hem line. Then I curve the armhole. That's about it for the drafting. Next is to cut it out. I cut the back neckline first, then the body. After cutting, I open it up and spread it wide on the table to cut the front neckline. From the crease line on the fabric, you will mark your shoulder line. I remeasure my neck depth, which is 8.5 inches. Then from the neck depth, I measured 2.5 inches. I measured 2.5 inches straight down to the hem. After that, I rule a straight line. Then from there I connect it to the neck width. Stay with me to the end of the video. I'm going to show you another way to draft the neckline. Next is to cut it out. Whatever measurements you measure, you will add 1/2 inch to it on the lapel. Whatever measurement you cut out from the front bodies, when you are cutting the fabric for the lapel, you must add 1/2 inch seam allowance. For example, I cut out 2.5 inches. So on the lapel, I'm going to measure 3 inches on fold. By the time I use 1/2 inch to join the lapel to the bodies, I'll be left with 2.5. So I folded the bodies into two to notch the back neckline, that is the center back. Notch the center back. From the neckline, I measured first of all 5 inches on both sides. Then after that, I measured 6 inches. Then I fold the tape to mark the midpoint, which is 3 inches. I repeat the same thing on the other side. I measure 6 inches. I fold the tape to mark the midpoint, which is 3 inches. Then from the shoulder, I measure to the front 16 inches. From the shoulder, I measure to the back 16 inches. That is the length of the pleats. I don't want it to pass the waist measurement. I repeat the same thing on the other side. I measure 16 inches to the front body, 16 inches to the back. Then I connect that into a straight line. Shoulder to my waistline is 17 inches, but I stop 1 inch before my waistline. Then after that, I pinch on the midpoint and I pin it down. I want the height of the pleat to be 3 inches. So as you are pleating, you will measure the height of the pleat to make sure that you have 3 inches. After pinning, I'm going to take to my ironing table and give it a good press. Then from the shoulder again, I measure to the front 5 inches, to the back 5 inches, which is 10 inches. So I'll take to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew stitch line 10 inches length to hold the pleat down. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. I measured to the front 5 inches, to the back 5 inches, which is 10 inches length. So I'll take to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew on that 10 inches length to hold the pleat down. You can decide to sew the pleat from the 16 inches mark at the front to the 16 inches mark at the back. It depends on your choice. So the next thing to do is to measure the front to know the length of the lapel you will be cutting out. Though I've already cut out my lapel, I'm just showing you guys the guideline. So you will measure the front like so, from one end to the other end. Whatever measurements you have, I'll advise that you add about 3 to 4 extra inches to it. So after cutting, you can decide to pin the lapel down before stitching, or you can just take to your sewing machine, place the lapel on it while you stitch. Whatever works fine for you. So I'll take to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew the lapel round. Then after that, I will overlock the edges and show us the next step to take. I've sewn it. This is how it looks. I've sewn the shoulder pleats down on the 10 inches mark, that is the 5 inches in front and the 5 inches at the back, and I've also stitched the lapel round to the front bodies. So the next thing I'm doing, I want to cut out long strip of fabric for the inner belt. So with your leftover fabric, unfold. I normally measure 3 inches unfold. Then the length is 32 inches. You will be kneading this into 2 places. Then I will take to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew my belt. I'll sew the fabric and turn it inside out. I've sewn the belt. This is how it looks. Next thing to do is to fold in the edge. I fold in the edge. Then I'm going to place it on my waist. For those that don't know how to fix inner belt, it is very easy. From the shoulder, you will measure down to your waist. Mark your shoulder line. Then from the shoulder, you will mark your waistline. Then you will place the lapel close to each other. You will measure quarter of your waist on one side. You will measure quarter of your waist on the other side. You will position the belt on the mark and stitch it down. What I did is I minus 2 inches from my waist measurement and I mark it. So after pinning the long strip for the belt, you will take to your sewing machine and stitch it down. So that's how to sew inner belt. After that, I'm going to hem the edge of the sleeve on both sides. Then I will show us the next step to take. At this point, I decided to wear the bubu in order for me to be able to pin down the neck depth that I want. You can do this on the mannequin. I also check the position of the belt to see the fitting on me, which is okay. Then after that, I overlap the lapel to see the neck depth, if it's fine with me. The neck depth on the thumbnail is wider than mine. I'm going to show you guys how to draft that neckline if that is what you want. Better still, you can decide to measure from the shoulder to wherever neck depth you desire. Then you will overlap the lapel at the neck depth that you want. You can also do this on the mannequin. I pin down where I want the overlap to start from. So after pinning where I want the overlap to start from, I'll remove it from my bodice. Then I'm going to take to my sewing machine. I'll overlap it and sew it to the hem of the dress. So you overlap the lapel on each other like so. Then I measured my hemming allowance, which is 2 inches. I measured 2 inches first. Then from that 2 inches, I measure where I want to stop the stitch for the lapel, because it's going to have an opening towards the lower part, just like a front slit, for me to be able to move my leg freely while walking. So I measured upward 15 inches. So when I'm sewing the overlap, I'm going to sew and stop at that 15 inches mark. From the neck depth, I'm going to sew. When I get to the 15 inches mark, I will stop. Then I will cross it, I'll top stitch on it, I'll cross it to hold the overlap down. So I'll take to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew it and show us the next step to take. I've sewn it, guys. This is how the inner belt looks like on the wrong side. Then this is the front side. I've top stitched the lapel on each other. Then when I get to the 15 inches mark, I cross the sewing. After that, I'll fold the bodice into two. I'm going to sew the sides with 1 inch, same allowance. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. I've sewn the sides. At the armhole area, you're going to notch that part so that the sleeve will relax nicely around the armpit. Then next, I'm going to give it a good press. This is what I always do in order to have a very neat finishing. I'll open up the side seam and give it a good press. I'll sprinkle water on it and give it a good press. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So after that, I will trim the hem. In case it's not equal, you will trim the hem. After that, I'm going to hem the down part. Next, let me show you how you can draft the neckline on the thumbnail. We've come to an end of today's tutorial. If you find my tutorial helpful, Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below if you've not done so. I upload weekly tutorial on my channel. Also remember to click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified. Thanks for watching. I love you all. Bye.